Welcome to CP Voice. Today we're here with a Navy SEAL and author of the New York Times bestseller, SEAL Team 6. He's here today with his wife, Debbie, to talk about a new book they collaborated on titled The Last Rescue, which deals with the soldier readjusting to American life, finding love and faith. Please welcome Howard Wasden and his wife, Debbie, to the studio.
Thank you, Vince.
Such a pleasure to have you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
So, what was the motivation behind writing The Last Rescue?
Well, basically, when I put the first book out, I described how I went from rock star to rock bottom, and I thought it sent a poignant message, but writing this book is how I bounced back from rock bottom, back to being successful. And The Last Rescue is actually about Debbie rescuing me from myself. So the motivation was to show these young men and women that are coming back from overseas, multiple tours in war zones, that your best days aren't behind you, which was the mindset I had. When I left SEAL Team 6, I literally thought that my best days were behind me and I would never have that type of fulfillment or satisfaction again. So given the need for this type of book, I'm like, let me talk to these people about coming back and realizing that even if you're in a dark spot, in a dark place when you get back, the light didn't move away from you, you moved away from the light. And that's partially what Debbie helped me realize. That, and realizing that just because I wasn't a SEAL Team 6 sniper that I was worthless anymore.
So Debbie, I'm sure when you were reading, as you've been reading over this book, you're hearing some of these stories maybe for the first time.
Yes.
And then you're also getting his perspective on some things within your relationship.
Right.
So what did you think when you first read some of these parts of the book?
Some light bulbs really came on. Oh, well, that's why. Oh, well, that makes sense now, because he's not a real open person with like his childhood, and he's not a real open person with everything that went on in the SEAL team and what he did in Somalia. It's not something he really likes to talk about a whole lot. So it really put some pieces together for me. It was like pieces of the puzzle that were missing.
Kind of like going on a new adventure.
It was, yeah. And you know what? I mean, the first book and this book, I think, really drew us closer together, just because I understood him a lot more than what I did before. So.
And it's interesting how you go back and forth in some of the chapters with the same situation, but from your perspective and then from his perspective. It's really fun to read it that way.
Right. That's why every married couple needs to get this book, because it kind of lets me see what a female's mind is like, and which is kind of scary. But she, seeing the way she thought about things, like when we were dating, and how she perceived me and how I perceive myself, and working through that. I mean, it's just a miracle that anybody can get married and stay married, given the two different perspectives.
So with that being said, is this book aimed towards couples, or is it aimed towards soldiers? Do you have a specific aim?
Go ahead.
As far as who you want to reach?
I mean, I'll tell what I think.
You guys can both talk about it.
I think it really would work for anybody, you know, as far as learning yourself, transitioning from military to civilian life, but also transitioning from one career to another, because sometimes things happen. And then from a bonding standpoint, with building a marriage and building a bond, and realizing it's not about you, and having to learn that it's about the couple and being a couple and putting up a united front and working together, but then also helping pull the weight of the other person when they feel weak or they aren't motivated enough or feel a little bit of fear or whatever. Really, you know, pulling through with them too. I think
my answer to that was going to be if I would have never been able to assimilate back into society. Now imagine going from the tip of the spear, 100 miles an hour, life or death all the time, to back to normal life, which you guys call civilian life. Yeah, that was the hardest thing I ever did. After being shot 3 times, I'm telling you, I would rather get shot again than have to go through what I went through assimilating back into society. I mean, it's common knowledge. I crawled into a liquor bottle for a couple years.
I read about that.
Self-destructive for a couple years, and that's the dark period that I'm talking about, where you just wake up one morning, Vince, and it's like, you know, what happened to my world? Who am I? I actually looked in the mirror one morning with a friend holding me in the mirror, basically saying, hey, look at this guy. He's not going to live much longer. And I think that if you can't come back, and especially our young people coming back today who have done multiple tours, years in a combat zone, I mean, we got a whole generation of people coming back that have real trauma, even if it's not physical trauma.
Absolutely.
You've got trauma that's going on. And if, as a society, we're not going to help them back to assimilate back into a normal life, then there's nothing normal, even a marriage. that can help that. So while I agree that Debbie helps me in our marriage, the biggest thing that Debbie helped me with was, like I said, realize, hey, buddy, your life's not over. There's still things you can do. There's something that you want to do, which, is go to be a chiropractor and help people. And as corny as that sounds, the same reason I became a SEAL Team 6 member is the same reason I became a chiropractor, to help people.
The motivations are the same.
Exactly right.
So with that being said, how did faith play a role in you helping him and you this last rescue that he had that the book talks about?
Well, first of all, she had to have a lot of it, because that was a hard case. You can read about our first date and all the ups and downs since then, but thank God she had a lot of faith.
I got to that part.
I just kind of feel that everything, God kind of puts you on the path that you need to be on. You have to search for it, and pray about it. But everything for us from the time we met just kind of fell into place. And except for career-wise for him, and we never really talked about, identity or anything like that until he called me at work one day and said, I think I'm going to take a job in Brazil. And I'm an accountant, so I'm very conservative. And I said, oh no, I don't want you to be out of the country because, I miss you, and then I don't want you to be in danger. And so we kind of did away with that conversation. It came up again, and I said, well, have you ever thought about re-educating yourself, just getting an education, doing something different, something else that you can take pride in? And he said, well, I've always wanted to be a chiropractor. And I said, well, let's do it. And then conversations after that, it kind of came to light that he had no current identity. The only identity he had was Howard was a Navy SEAL. And that was a great past to have, but it wasn't his current, and it hadn't been his current for about 9 or 10 years. So really, at that point, starting to build a new identity was a big thing for him. And then once we got him into school, and he started taking the classes, and he started building that identity, his whole personality changed. His self-esteem changed. I mean, it was just amazing to watch. So I'm just proud that I could be a part of that. I don't think I really had anything to do with it. I think it was all God, but And then he worked really hard. I used to tell him that I had the easy job because I just went to work and then came home and did whatever. He had to study and go to class 8 hours a day. So
she's probably the most humble and best woman I know, but I will tell you that she had everything to do with it. We were driving back from Atlanta after we went up to talk to the dean, and we were in her little BMW, and I was coming up with reasons why I couldn't go back. Well, too far away from home, we're splitting up the family, we'll see each other on weekends, I'm too old and all this kind of stuff. She whips this little BMW off the exit and basically tells me, I don't think she was pointing her finger at me, but she got real serious and said, hey, here's the thing, you can keep going the way you're going, wishing you had something better, or we can get started now, get you started, and 4 years from now, you'll be finished and we'll be through it. So you want to keep whining and feeling sorry for yourself, or you want to do something about it, basically.
Or you can look back 5 years from now and say, I would be graduating right now. Which one are you going to do? Are you going to make the sacrifice and do it, or are you going to sit back and whine about it for the rest of your life after the time has passed?
Take a risk.
So you take,
and the other thing is, as a SEAL Team 6 sniper, I have no fear except for her. When she gets like that, if she's laying down, I'm just like, yes, ma'am, no, ma'am, so.
But everything kind of seemed to fall into place, and that was just one of those things. I was willing to sacrifice him Monday through Friday to know that he was safe and be able to talk to him every day on the phone, and I think that's part of being married and being a couple, and is sacrificing for each other, and he's sacrificed for me on several occasions too. I mean, it goes in both directions.
So with that being said, what's the most interesting thing you may have learned about each other while writing this book?
While writing this book, what's the most interesting thing?
I got my answer right now.
Oh, you go ahead.
Knowing that she was driven and a hardworking person, but I never realized how much that she kept inside that I didn't know about, and how much she suffered, even helping me. Not just talking about in her previous relationship, but even helping me go through what I went through, reading it in her words, seeing it from her side. I was like, good God, woman, you deserve another crown when you get to heaven, because it had to be hard. Imagine being married to somebody like me who comes out of a war zone, abused childhood. I'm not supposed to say that, because that's taboo, but not having anything really to fall back on as far as like how you're supposed to be in a relationship, what a relationship's supposed to be, how you're supposed to express yourself, how to tell your family you love them, even little stuff like that. And most people take for granted. She had to educate me on all that. She had to teach me by example all that.
And we both learned that too. We both learned more and more about that than I think what we knew before we met. I think for me the most interesting part was really seeing what his life was before he and I met, because I really never saw the side of him that was the Navy SEAL. And he had told me several times when we were dating that if I'd have known him when he was a Navy SEAL, I probably would not have given him the time of day. So,
I promise you.
And I almost
Changed
didn't after
man.
the first date. But anyway, I think just learning about his past relationship and just who he was then, and seeing the changes that had happened between then and now, and our relationship versus, you know, his first marriage. That, to me, I think that was.
And Vincent, getting back to your original question about us as a couple, how to advise other couples, we learned a long time ago not to force it.
Right.
My best friend, Jeffrey Harris, told me one time, and it's just simple: let go and let God. And I have spent my life forcing everything I had to. If I had to force a shot, or force an agent in or out of a house, a direct action, a takedown, everything is on my time, my way, to keep my people alive, to rescue that American, whatever. Everything's not life and death when I get out things, and I still saw everything as life and death, has to be this way. And I was so busy trying to make everything fit together that I just had to take a breath and say, hey, look, there's a higher power out here, besides the redhead. There's a higher power out here that if I just let go, like he says, and let life happen instead of forcing life, it becomes easier. And it's amazing to me, even today, that how much easier it can be if you just let go, and
That certainly changes
power.
everything. Thank you so much for coming in, guys. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Vincent.
Nice
It's a pleasure,
talking to you.
Howard.
Thank you.
Debbie.
Thank you so much.
The Last Rescue is available wherever books are sold. If you have any questions or inquiries, email us at cpvoice@christianpost.com. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time. Navy SEAL Howard Wasden and his wife Debbie's story is inspiring for couples. She helped Howard to find a new identity outside of his Navy SEAL experience, which defined him for most of his life. Their book tells a rescue story that was life-changing for them, but completely unexpected. They are a true inspiration for couples and soldiers trying to readjust to being civilians.